Okay, and welcome back to Harrison Talks Pod, episode number 10. My name is Harrison, and this is my podcast. Every week I come on and talk about NBA basketball, gaming, travel, or whatever else I'm doing that week. This week, I have my friend Josh from Nintenvania podcast come on and talk to me about Vampire Survivors because they got their Ode to Castlevania DLC back in October. So we had to come on and talk about Castlevania and Vampire Survivors and had a great conversation with him about video games and well, just life in general, I'm sure. And before that, NBA basketball talk. And I decided that since I'm recording this on a Monday afternoon in sunny Thailand and a very early Monday morning in America, and that the NBA Cup is on Tuesday night, I'll say. Always mess up my days here and there that I might come on and do a bonus episode this week talking just about NBA Cup. Some very good basketballs there. Bucks had a great run of games against the Magic and the Hawks. Rockets, very impressive win against the Warriors. Held them to 37 points in the first half, which was just amazing. um, the Thunder have been red hot, easily defeated the Mavs, who are red hot, and the Rockets 111 to 96. I'll just leave it there. I have a lot of thoughts, but I thought instead of talking about it two more weeks, perhaps I just come on and just talk about it right after we know who the champion is going to be. I'll finish by saying, though, that I think this year we have the best two teams in it. I'll say the Celtics might be the best team in the East, but as far as this competition goes, I think the best two teams ended up in the finals this time. So, um, before I get to my other conversation, let's talk a little more basketball. And I'm going to title this next segment Jimmy Butler Confusion. Oh, great. So, Jimmy Butler and Miami Heat, they have now won four in a row, which is the first time they've won three in a row or four in a row all season. And they've been pretty close to 500 before then, all year. And the trade rumors for Jimmy Butler started popping up after their third win in a row. We talked a bit about the Heat on the podcast last week. About, I think the team has lots of positives and then a lot of things that are not as good as we want just yet. But I think while they're underperforming, they're still doing very, very well in the Eastern Conference. And we know that the Heat and Heat culture, if you get them in the playoffs with Eric Spoelstra, that they could get to the conference finals or the finals. So I definitely think this team, as it stands, could be competitive, but Jimmy Butler, 18.2 points per game is the lowest since 2018, 2019. Bam Adebayo, 16 points per game, has definitely taken a step backwards, if anything, offensively. But if you want to look at it positively, they are still 10th in offense in the entire league. And if you get a little more production out of them, with Tyler Hero averaging 24.2 and having his best offensive year, just best year in general, this team could be very, very good and easily out of the play-in in the top six. Easily. So why is it now? Uh, it's always alarming, or it's always a sign, I think, when you see trade rumors pop up whenever a team is doing good or finally doing good. But the Heat, again, have been mostly a middle of the road team until these last week and a half or so. There are rumors Shams Charania reported that Jimmy Butler has a wish list of 4 teams, and no surprise, 4 teams that are all in the West and are all competitive, being the Mavericks, Suns, Rockets, and Warriors. Now his agent has come out and said that these rumors are BS, that they're not true. But if anything, um, I think there are rumblings, if we can say anything at all. And I won't go beyond anything else beyond that, I don't think. Because it's all speculation. But if anything, it was a pretty big reaction, and perhaps we're a little bit bored in the NBA, and perhaps we're getting into the new year, the holidays, the if oncoming NBA trade deadline. So let's talk about it. I'll share what I think is the most likely and um, what is the best for Jimmy Butler and the Heat. But let's talk about the trade rumors because they're fun. So first, Mavs, and we'll start. I think this is like order of most unlikely to likely, perhaps. But Mavs, um, Jimmy Butler is a $52 million player option next season. Uh, the Mavs lost to the Thunder. Thunder might be the best team in the league, if not just the best team in the West. But with that, Mavs have won 12 of their last 14 and is easily one of the best teams in the league right now. Very impressive rebuild. Uh, Starting with Kyrie, I guess, but especially in the trade deadline, getting PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, being able to get Najee Marshall in the off season makes no sense. I don't think. I think. Oh, and Clay Thompson in off season, of course, of course. Um, to get Jimmy Butler, I think you have to give up. You have to give up Clay Thompson, or you have to give up 2 or 3 big assets that have helped change the culture of your team into becoming a solid, all around, both sides of the floor team. I don't think he fits into that. I was worried about the age gap between Kyrie Irving and Luka, and them playing together has just proven me that I shouldn't worry about it. They're just two very, very talented basketball players. Are they the best in the West? I'm not sure, but I do think they can beat any team, including the Thunder, in a 7-game series. Thunder, I would give the edge because if you watched in the last week, wow, wow, amazing basketball. Next one is Suns. Suns is a little more likely because you have Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal has expressed interest in the Heat in the past, uh, so would possibly waive his no trade clause. So if you get Beal and an asset, that might be okay to go to Miami, and that might not be the worst for Miami. Now, it's not the worst for Miami, but it's not great. Uh, it's a 3-year contract. Your defense doesn't get better with Beal. Your offense might get a little better, but it's probably about the same. So I think it doesn't fit in the long run. It's not the worst, but it doesn't fit in the long run. Let's leave it there. Rockets. Also playing very well, despite losing to the Thunder. One of the best defensive teams in the league. They might be overperforming. They might be ahead of schedule, just overall, with where they thought they would be. I don't know. At least where I thought they would be. If you want to get involved with Jimmy Butler, it has to be Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks, or both. Fred VanVleet has a slightly better contract, $44 million uh, player option next year. Slightly better contract. Not as good of a player, but if you've watched any of the Rockets games this season, especially the last few weeks, it's evident that Fred VanVleet is the backbone to this team. And it's evident that more teams could just use a player like Fred VanVleet. It would be no surprise, too, if the Rockets are one of the teams that Miami is ultimately interested in for that reason. I would not budge. I don't think the Rockets would do it. I think the Rockets are way too good right now. And why are you thinking about one or two of your best players? You know, I'm saying two of like the five. I'm saying two of the 4 or 5. For a 36-year-old star that will make $52 million next year. Don't see it happening. So Warriors. Perhaps it's 3 unlikely and 1 that is very interesting for a couple of reasons. All right, so the Warriors have Wiggins, multi-year deal. They have Draymond Green, which is crazy to think about. They have Buddy Hield, Kyle Anderson, Moses Moody, Brandon Podziemski. They had D'Anthony Melton, but they just traded him for Dennis Schroeder. And I don't know if that makes anything different or worse or better. So they have Dennis Schroeder. Let's just leave it there. And wow, a lot for Dennis Schroeder. 3 second-round picks, D'Anthony Melton, Reese Beekman. Uh, it's pretty crazy. It's seeing Dennis Schroeder going from declining his deal as a Laker to going to the Nets to ultimately ending up here. The Warriors are familiar with taking risks. Loyalty. They very much treat this team, this business like a business. They treat the business like a business. So if you look at Klay Thompson, signed and traded. James Wiseman they traded. Chris Paul they waived. Um, I don't think there's any issue with them shipping out players to possibly get Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler would fit into the system very, very well. Offers another shot creator, offers another ball handler. Um, yeah, it definitely fits into the culture. Now, would the Warriors do it? I'm not sure. Not sure, but this one is really, really interesting. It's always the Warriors in the end. Warriors are often in these trade rumors, and even if they don't make it, they're often one of the best options just based on what assets they have and what culture they have around them. So, way to go, Steph Curry. All right, let's go lightning round. Some others that could be possible, I guess. Nuggets are very interesting, I think. So Nuggets have Michael Porter Jr. and they could include 1 or 2 more assets to get Jimmy Butler. They get shot creation, ball handling to go along with Murray and Jokic, which is something they very much need. Heat get good assets. I mean, if you get Michael Porter Jr. and you get a couple more players, it's barely, if at all, a rebuild. Michael Porter Jr., a 6'10 guy who's one of the best shooters in the league. I would love to see what Eric Spoelstra would do in that system with him. So it's interesting. It could work. Lakers could technically work. It works in the trade machine. All right, so LeBron came back last night, which is good to see. Injury, of course, but any kind of personal reason. Let's just separate any kind of feelings you have of LeBron or any players. it's always good to see players that come back from personal reasons and okay, everything is at least at least they're back. Not normal maybe, but at least they're back. So it depends on LeBron's future. I left him out of the trade talks today. I, I know. I know him being away. A lot of speculation was going on, but yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what goes on with that. Lakers are middle of the road, which is creating lots of narratives, but I think should be expected. I mean, they're right on track with their projection. But they do have lots of assets. They have D'Angelo Russell. They have Rui Hachimura. They could reunite Gabe Vincent to Miami Heat. They have Jackson Hayes. Um, it's not the most exciting. It makes the Lakers very, very old. It probably wouldn't happen, but technically it could work. It works in the trade machine. The Nets, unlikely for many reasons. Dennis Schroeder just got traded. They are currently 10 and 15 and 10th in the East. They are going to be very much interested in getting into the upcoming draft. The only reason why I bring it up is because it works on paper and Jimmy Butler has expressed interest in this before. But if any of these rumors are true about a wish list, then Jimmy Butler is clearly interested in teams that are playoff teams right now. So I don't think Sean Marks would do it, but again, it technically works. All right, and last one, fun one. 76ers. The Philadelphia 76ers. And you have to include this one because how hilarious would it be to the Heat to get Paul George and his 4-year deal. Jimmy Butler goes back to the Sixers, gets reunited with Joel Embiid and a new looking Sixers team. There's no Ben Simmons around. And the reunion starts. It's fun to think about, but it would probably never happen. Although it could work, it would probably never happen. Okay, so I'm about done here. So I'm about to switch it over. Let's talk about two more teams quickly. I think this trade deadline with the upcoming draft and with how many teams are either going to be trying to go for top or bottom, I think this is going to be a busy trade season. I could be wrong. I'm usually wrong. Two teams, though, I'll discuss now are teams I'm interested in. First one is the Pelicans, and I've expressed this before, either last week or the week before or both, that I very much just hope that we can see a cultural change finally after the 5 or 6 year Zion plus Brandon Ingram experiment. It has not worked. They're 5-21. Zion has played 6 games so far. Ingram has been consistent, has played 18 games, but is on an expiring contract. Get an asset for him before his contract expires. And as far as Zion goes, give him a cultural shift. He has a big contract now. Um, I'm not gonna blame or point fingers. I stated that last week that it's hard to know how much of it is Zion, how much of it is a team, but you just hope that perhaps a new city and a new team and a new culture could help Zion and hopefully help these injuries as well. So just make it, just change it. And the Pelicans have made it clear that 3 players, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Eyes Messi, their rookie, are the only 3 players that are not going to be available heading into their trade deadline. So as soon as you get some healthy play, it doesn't even have to be like real consistent or like real like big winning basketball. Just some consistency, some court time, send them out for something. Um, that's as far as I'll go. No speculations or what that could be. Zion could also end up on the Warriors. Hey, who knows? Uh, Bulls are the other team and the last team I'll talk about today. There is no reported offers for Nikola Vucevic or Zach LaVine. Vucevic is having one of his best seasons offensively at the age of 34. Has 1 year left in his contract next year at 21 million. Bulls could use assets as well as draft picks. Have not talked about draft picks at all today. Just was too lazy on that, I guess. But of course, they did not get any draft picks from OKC in the Alex Caruso, Josh Giddey deal, so they could use either. And just overall, um, try to get Vucevic out before the deadline. And Zach LaVine, unfortunately, was injured last game. Lower back spasms was reported. Um, has lots of money left in his contract. Player option at in 26-27 is at 48 million. And I really have no good ideas. So I have to end of that. I have to end of this part with that. Just saying that I desperately want to see the Bulls go full rebuild. Just trade anything. Start with the stars, but you can also trade Ball. You can trade anything on your team. Try to get into the lottery, and well, Zach LaVine, can you do something somewhere else? I mean, can you be productive? I mean, somewhere else is the way I want to say that. Um, but it's a lot of money, so I'm lost on that one. I'll leave it there though. So I'm going to transition here. I'm actually going back in time now, and we'll hear from Josh from Nintenvania. All right, Harrison Talks Pod, and we are back. And I say we are back, but we are recording this out of order. As of right now, it is a Saturday morning over in sunny Thailand, and I guess I'll say that it is a Saturday afternoon over in Australia because joining me now is my friend Josh from Nintenvania. Josh, how are you today?
Doing very well, Harrison. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm very honored that you've asked me, especially for this topic as well. Really, really keen to talk about it.
Right, right. On this podcast, of course, my podcast is very, very new, and for the first time, we're going to talk about some gaming today. And as I promoted on here, my other podcast is in Nintendo Therapy. Josh has been on Nintendo Therapy before, talking about many different games, talking about Castlevania as well. But today I wanted to have him on, have guests on every week, talk about different topics. One thing that I've been very, very excited about is Vampire Survivors. And I've talked about Vampire Survivors on Nintendo Therapy probably too much for an indie game. And something recently as in October 2024, they had the Ode to Castlevania DLC. So when I heard that release around the time that I dropped this podcast, I messaged Josh and I said, "You have to come on and talk about it since you are the Castlevania guy that I know." So Josh, I want to start with you. What is your experience with Vampire Survivors? Like, did you play it before the DLC? Have you played it a lot, a little bit?
Yeah, definitely played it before. They did the announcement on the DLC. It's I don't know, like as a Castlevania fan, you kind of like you played the games, and there's a lot of the like the last new one you could arguably say has been a while, and there's been some of the little newer ones since, but I feel we're pretty deprived of Castlevania content. So when a game that's based and heavily inspired by Castlevania comes along, like Vampire Survivors, that immediately draws me in. And so um, I waited. Well, I heard great things on like because it went to Xbox first, I think, and like heard really good things. People were like surprised by it and really getting into it. But it wasn't until it got its Switch release that I purchased it straight away and started playing it. And you go through it and just like, yeah, this is these people really love the Castlevania series because it's You can tell, very inspired by it, and then they come out and say, we're actually doing DLC that's like Castlevania focused. We don't have to dance around the idea of it being based on it. This is actual content from like the series. Konami's allowed Ponkel to actually have some fun and create these characters. I was like, hell yeah, let's get back into it and play it some more.
Yeah, I've played it a lot, and I wonder now that we've had this full circle moment, which is going to be probably our big topic for this topic today. I wonder if they're done. Because at this point, I bet between the is it 5 DLCs? One, two, three, four, 5
Yeah,
DLCs. I would say there's easily over 200 hours of content between and that's putting it lightly, I think. And they've created such a nice gameplay loop that like it is super satisfying to start over. As in like, I first played it on Steam Deck. It's like the perfect Steam Deck game.
mm,
It's a small file size. Again, there's like tons of content. Um, it's cheap.
handheld,
Yeah, it's
like
cheap. It's
for Steam.
handheld. It started as a mobile game, I believe, but who cares, right? Um, and then when the Switch release came out, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get it because it's only like $5, or $5 plus the
So cheap.
DLC. Yeah,
Mm,
it's it. So I think on um Nintendo Therapy, we did a segment at one point. It was like best bang for your buck games on Switch, and this was definitely one of them that was brought
had to
up.
be. Yeah.
Um, like it was inspired by Stardew Valley. It's like Stardew Valley. I have like hundreds of hours, and it's a
Mm,
$20 game.
massive game. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So this is definitely one of them. I I wonder if they're done. I wonder if
Yeah. It's definitely the biggest update, I feel. Like there's over 20 different Castlevania characters. The Ode to Castlevania map is huge. Like you feel like you're just scratching the surface with your initial playthroughs, and then you keep playing it and doing the things that you need to do to unlock the doors, and you delve deeper and deeper into the castle. It's very cool. Um, yeah, I love it. I'd love to see more, obviously, but I don't think it'd be with a franchise or an IP I resonate with so much because I haven't paid for the Contra or the Among Us DLC that they've done for this one. Um, but very cool that they've done these collaborations and able to partner with these big publishers and get their content on as well.
Yeah, I have all of them. I haven't played all of them. I've only
Yep.
I've played pretty much none of them besides this one.
Mm,
But I have all of them because I've just invested so many hours. I'm like, oh, $3? Okay. Yeah, here, yeah,
yeah,
like
it's
here's
nothing.
like that's generally my rule. It's the same
Mm,
thing like if I play like a free mobile game, if I invest lots of hours in it, I will generally like throw them $5 for like
mm,
even if it's something that I don't need, a free cosmetic or something. It's like, yeah, like because that's me paying it forward and hoping that, we continue to get content like that, which
yeah.
Vampire Survivors has done. So in your mind, because your Castlevania brain, like when you're playing it, are you like constantly running into things that are like, oh, like this reference or this map or like this character? Because I know the original Vampire Survivors characters are all based off Castlevania characters.
Yeah, they are slightly, aren't they? And you can definitely tell that is the case. With this one, definitely, yeah. Obviously, it is those characters, and so I don't know. I was going through the castle. I'm just looking at the different portraits, and then I just like trying to work out is that from a game? I think it is, and like I think yeah, it's that one. And then um, there's one like there's lot here, and I don't want to say everything, but there's one cool moment when I was in the middle of the castle, and the twist in Symphony of the Night happened to me, and I'm like, oh, this is like I'm just like freaking out here. This is amazing, and so um, they've definitely played to it. They know what works. like the whole joke of Vampire Survivors, there's no vampires in it.
Right.
I don't want to spoil anything here, but whether that continues or not, play it for yourself. But just pretty funny stuff going on, and just all the different monsters, and you're looking at these things, and they've literally like gone through a wiki listing. If they didn't know the enemies themselves, picked out these ones to create and make, and Konami's like effectively, I imagine, just like, yeah, take everything you need and go for it. So yeah, a big love letter I feel to the series.
It's massive. Like before, right before I turned on Discord and met you, like I was going through some of the references that I haven't like got into or I didn't know, and it is massive. Like they advertise that this DLC is around 20 hours of content, but there's
Mm,
over 40 secrets that you have to unlock. And I'm like, how do you do that in 20 hours? Because like a normal run could take you like 40 minutes depending on like how long you're like pausing to like do this and that.
yeah, and how good
Um
you are, I feel.
so like I think it's gonna be a lot more if you actually want to like 100% everything. But like there's tons so you mentioned it already. Yes, if anyone's listening to this, it is a little bit spoilery, us talking about it. But yeah, there's no vampire and vampire survivors. If you've ever followed any of their social media, it's just them trolling you about there's no there's no vampire. Um,
The way I like to think of it is, they're the ones who survive, and they're the ones who kill the vampires. They're the vampires. I don't know. It's just that's my way to think about it. But yeah, I love how they dig into the meme. Like, there's no vampires at all.
yeah, I thought they would just never it would never happen. Like I thought like maybe
Mm,
when they're done with the game at the very end, they'll like add an Easter egg where like you actually there's actually a vampire. But yeah, I think it's just more of a meme at this point.
yeah,
So yeah, they had so many interesting Easter eggs in their game, which like they don't get discovered until like later on. Like I discovered recently how you can reset your game, because for a while we thought that there's no way to do it besides actually going into your game file and deleting
yeah.
it, and got just discovered recently. There's a number of cheat codes for this DLC. I won't talk about all of them. Do you know what is Alucard's real name?
No.
Okay, it's a little bit of Castlevania trivia. I should have
Yes, I should know
introduced it
this.
that
No.
way. Adrian Fahrenheit.
There you go. Really?
Adrian Fahrenheit, like Tempest, I don't know, I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but there's a cheat code that's Adrian Fahrenheit, which is Alucard's real name. Um, and
Right.
I think Quincy Morris in this game is Joseph Joestar. It's just something that I saw on Twitter a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's just something I saw on Twitter a lot.
No.
Like they do look very very similar. Um, do you know there is a Symphony of the Night reference in this game?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. So that twists, and then there's other ones as well, which I
Okay.
have stumbled upon. Um, that's my favorite game in the series, and so anytime they do Symphony of the Night stuff, I'm like, I get super more excited, I suppose.
Yeah, I was watching it. So I think instead of doing the spoilers, I'll just name the games they reference in the DLC. But I was going back and watching like the succubus boss fight, and God, it's so intense. Like, do you have
Mm.
memories of the first time seeing that boss fight,
Um,
or did you know already?
yeah, I didn't last long. I was pretty gone by that stage. I was glad to get to it, but then yeah, it didn't last long, and so I was like, okay, I got to like get back to that and play that again because I don't know. I was always swaying between like I feel I play Vampire Survivors like so conservatively, and then because I always like try not to move too far when I normally play, and that is so against the aim of the game because you're meant to move around and discover things. And then my thing's like I'm not going to level up as fast as I do that, and so I'm always like two different mindsets when I'm playing this game. And so I've had to, especially with Castlevania, been wanting to explore more, and so that's how I've had to play it, I suppose, to experience it.
I think in that game, in Vampire Survivors, you have to have times you grind, and then you have to have times where you explore, and then you
Yeah.
have to have times where you just go, where it's like, okay,
Mm.
none of it's working out, and I just have to like survive, pretty much.
Yes, that's right.
Um,
Just avoid people and just go for them candlesticks and find that chicken in the chicken in the wall and just sort of go from there. Just do what you need to get through.
I meant in Symphony of the Night, when you first played it, did you know that twist in the story before you got to it,
Yeah,
or you did?
yeah. I my Castlevania journey's been probably a bit more recent compared to probably other people, especially those who were there back in the day. It's probably within the last 5 years or so for me that I've like a big Metroid fan, and so there's not a lot of Metroid games. There's even less Metroid games than Castlevania games, and so playing all of them, like okay, what else can I play? Castlevania, um, originally started off as something fairly different to Metroid, but took on that genre later on from Symphony onwards, and that's been like okay, I'm going to play these games because I'm sure I'm going to love them, and I did, and so one of the first ones was Symphony, and I knew the twist, which was still very cool when it happened, but it was just one of those games I'd heard about so much, and that thing happens and it freaked people out, and so um, there's a lot of PlayStation One games I feel because I think of Metal Gear Solid as well and how cool those moments were as well. There's a couple of those on the PlayStation.
Has it been remade, remastered?
Um, no, it's just the like Symphony.
Yeah.
No, we just had it re-released. It's called the Requiem bundle, and it's got Rondo of Blood as well. And so I really I I'm so I want it on Switch firstly, Symphony, because I don't know why they haven't done that yet. Whether it was an exclusivity deal with PlayStation, but like surely that's over soon. If not, um, yeah, it's one of those games where I don't know if they should remake it. I think it's so perfect as it is, and um, so beautifully like that pixel animation's great. The voiceovers, I love that so much. Yeah, I feel if they did any modern take to it, it just wouldn't feel the same. I don't know.
I I totally agree. I mean,
Mm,
I totally agreed that it should be on Switch next. Mainly because like the Switch is getting to be so old and it's going to be reverse compatible in the next system. And we
yep.
might and it's just like we might as well. We might as well have all of those games on that one device, whether
Mm,
it's um I like I don't know like we've had collections. um it could be a collection, it could be a single game, it could be a remake, a remaster, whatever it might be. But the Switch does do a lot of remasters where it's just it's a perfect game, it's great, and they just um hopefully make it hopefully upscale it. However,
yeah, I'd be so happy with that. I just want yeah, like you said, we had the anniversary collection, Advance, and then Dominus just the other month, and so that with the NSO extra games that you get in between, we get the actual the Game Boy games on there as well. And it's a pretty big range now, and we're just missing Symphony of the Night. Symphony's the big one, and they haven't done it yet. So, and Rondo of Blood. Rondo of Blood's a great game too. So, and you get Bloodlines on. So I'm just thinking of all of them. They're on that's on the Mega
yeah,
or um the Mega Drive we call it, but you call it the what's the word you call it? The
Genesis.
other system, the Sega Genesis. And so, um, there's a lot there, but just a big gaping hole of Symphony of the Night.
Yeah, I it would be um it would be a big announcement, I think. Like if they did it at a direct, I
Mm,
think I think that would set people off and get people really uh, excited. Well, that's cool. For example, like I'm a recent Zelda fan. I
Mm,
played like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask and the original Zelda back in the day, but Breath of the Wild was really what set me off, and then I became like a huge Zelda fan after that.
nice.
So very cool. As far as Castlevania goes, I'm a casual as far as that goes. Uh, have you have you ever thought about what that conversation must have been? Because of course, like imagine if you're Ponkel, if you're an independent, if you're a small game developer, and of course, like obviously, like I'm assuming Castlevania is your favorite IP, your favorite franchise, if you're that game developer, and you're not sure how big your game's gonna be. It ends up exploding, ends up doing really, really well. So much so that the subgenre is now being named after you. Like the Bullet Heaven subgenre is now being called Survivor like because of Vampire
Mm,
Survivors. Like if you go on Switch, you type in Survivors, I guarantee there's at least 12 games that are survivors that are just based on that game. Anyways, I'm making this too long.
mm.
Have you thought about the first time they talked of Konami and they're like, "Can we have Castlevania?"
Yeah. I really wonder, like, they probably didn't expect it to obviously sell as well as it did and become as popular as it did. And once that happens, you're like, oh, hopefully Konami notices. We made this game and we like Castlevania and it's really popular now. And um, here's our number. Let us know. Um, I think they always probably would have felt once it got big when it did that they probably have a chance because like yeah, Konami just love to dish out the Castlevania deals. IP, and they're not do anything with it themselves. They like to, get M2 to port the old games. They like to get the creators of Dead Cells to do their DLC, and obviously Sakurai with Smash Bros. Like his Richter and Simon Belmont. Please use them and use some IP, but we won't make any of it ourselves. And so um, Ponkel probably we were a bit more confident after it got really big that they could make something work, and I'm just so glad it's happened because yeah, we just don't get enough, and so I just want I enjoy these these other non like mainline entries that we're getting. They're just it gives me hope because the mainline series has been away for a while now, and we've had the 3D stuff in Lords of Shadows 1 and 2, and that didn't really take off. And yeah, it gives me hope that we might get a mainline return, like we're getting sort of with the Metal Gear and the likes. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, Metal Gear, that's very true. I think a lot of games are in play. I mean, did you watch any of Game Awards? It's for us. It was
Yeah,
yesterday, like
yeah, the
afternoon.
whole thing. Mm.
Yeah,
It was good, a really good show. I
like
think the best one I've seen.
I forget. I'm gonna mess it up. The makers of Blasphemous are making a new 2D Ninja Gaiden. I'm like, what? Like that's
That was the first
awesome.
announcement, wasn't it? Is that the very first one at the start?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And I'm like,
Mm,
this is what we're starting with. Because
mm,
I'm more of a hater. Like this is more of like a it's like they'll do like 3 awards like bam bam bam, and then here's like 40 minutes of game trailers. It's I just
mm.
or like whoever wins best production wins game of the year. It's like the same category. Anyways, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
vent. Um, but yeah, like I love Blasphemous, and they get to develop a new Ninja Gaiden, the first one
Mm.
and the first 2D in 29 years. It's amazing.
It's pretty cool. It's almost like you got to earn your stripes as a obviously indie developer, and then to get the chance to build yourself up and get these opportunities is pretty cool. And I think of Mercury Steam with the Metroid series because they got the chance to port Metroid 2, and they made Metroid Return of Samus Returns, and so. Um, that was great, and that led to obviously Metroid Dread, which they absolutely killed it and made an amazing game, which I think is up there with Super Metroid in terms of 2D Metroid. And so um, it's pretty cool when they these developers show they can make these games, and then the publishers of the IP we don't have time to make it ourselves because we're Nintendo's making the big Zeldas, the big Mario's. It's a bit harder for them to make a 2D Metroid, and so they trust these developers to do it. And when it pays off, and they give them another chance, especially after the first game, I think that's pretty cool. So hopefully it leads to some more for Ninja Gaiden. That's really cool.
They nailed Metroid Dread. That is
Amazing.
one of the best performing Switch games, just period.
It looks so
Um,
great. Yeah. The,
it
the
launched.
music's the only thing I can fault with it. Just I wish it doesn't have some of the classic or memorable tunes I can recall from Super or the Game Boy titles. Just yeah, that's only slight little chink in the armor, but everything else is superb, unreal.
Yeah, it was the first game because it launched I think the same day as the OLED. It's the first
Mm,
game I played
yep.
on the OLED
Ooh.
and just having like those dark spaces and everything. And it was also a game that I mean, did you think we were ever going to get a 2D Metroid before that?
Not really, no,
Yeah,
and
no, me
especially when it
neither.
was called Dread as well. Especially after it kind of got teased in the Metroid Prime series, even though it wasn't really a connection to that. We find out years later. Um, but still, Metroid Dread had kind of a bit of a cult following, and this one game we're hoping for, hopefully, still is coming. And what it was 19 years since um, you know between entries, so or 17 or a new between Metroid Fusion at least and Metroid Dread 19 years. So pretty unreal for a new 2D Metroid to have to wait that long. I just hope never have to wait that long for a new 2D Metroid ever again.
Uh, probably I don't think so. Again, like we kind of started this part of the conversation was just saying that like I think in this next generation or I don't know if generations are really going away now that like we're like in the middle and maybe Xbox is going away and then the
Mm,
Nintendo is kind of in the middle, the PlayStation, and then we got possibly OS coming up.
yeah.
It's just all over the place. But I think hmm, Metroid Dread I hope sold well enough. It didn't sell great, but I think it sold pretty good for the type of game that it is that it'll get enough interest, especially with Prime. And actually let's make it the last part of today. All right, Josh. Make your prediction. Do you think Metroid Prime 4 2025 or 2026?
Well, they've said it's coming in 2025 in that initial revealed trailer. I'm pretty confident that's going to happen because I I don't think they were ever going to come back with this game after they initially cancelled the first project of it, and made Retro start from scratch. Take this on that this other developer's done. I really don't think they would give us anything unless they're very sure it's going to happen. So I'm very confident 2025 will be the year, and that it won't be delayed, unless another pandemic or something happens. But um, I when in 2025, I think's the real question. And so, is this Nintendo's always, they don't typically announce a game in 2020, like middle of 2024, and it would come out over a year later. So I really think this is a first half game. I'm thinking May or June that we get this, maybe July at the latest. But that's what I'm thinking. And um, you mentioned Dread like didn't sell well. It's the best-selling Metroid game. It sold over 3 million copies. No other Metroid game had done that, and so um, I still would have liked to gotten to that like 5 million or something because it only just beat Metroid Prime, the original, and the GameCube, and that install base was 22 million GameCubes, and we've got over 145 million Switches out there. So
It's
it's
sold
still a small series,
it's
but
sold very well for the type of game that it is.
Yeah.
I should have said it like that. Um,
Yeah.
l-
It did for 2D, which I think
l-
people
yeah,
rightly or wrongly
uh,
associate with being lower quality.
yeah. A 2D Metroid Dread won't be a Switch 2 launch title,
No.
but it will be a game that I think we'll see sooner than later because I think Metroid Prime could break all records for like all Metroid games, and then people are like, okay, like people are introduced to that series. Like, I often bring up the fact that um, the Link's Awakening um, remaster sold over 6 million copies, which makes it like
Mm,
the sixth best selling Zelda game, period, like not counting the original. And that's mainly, I think it's mainly because so many people played Breath of the Wild and they're like, oh, this is Zelda? Yeah, okay,
mm.
Zelda. Um,
It's cute, it's fun, it looks really great, and, I think it drew a lot of people in, for sure.
Yeah, so I think that you're absolutely right. It's a best-selling Metroid game. 3 million is actually more than what I had predicted. I'm sure in the beginning. It's definitely a game that I had bought and played.
Mm. Um,
So
I hope Beyond gets to 5 or 4. I don't know, I just really, if they can really market this as, well, I've got theories, like, because I think if it's just Switch, it won't get there, but if this is Retro Studios and, they're known for really optimizing and getting every ounce of quality out of their games on Nintendo hardware, which has always been limited, and, we see how amazing Metroid Prime Remastered looked on the Switch, and that looks amazing. And the trailer for Beyond looks unreal too. So we know this is going to be a great looking game. I wonder if it's going to be cross generation, if we're going to get something on the Switch 2 as well, and it makes it look even better. That's definitely not Nintendo like, and not something they usually do. So I doubt it. But if it's ever going to happen, I feel it's with a developer like Retro who know how to use it, and produce great looking games. So I'm kind of hoping that's the case. I don't think it will happen, but if it does, it could be a great way to sort of, here's a great way to show you the difference in how much better the Switch 2 looks, and it might be a reason people upgrade, knowing just how much better a game looks from the current Switch to the new one.
well, you brought it up, so I'll share my prediction
Yeah,
because I think it will be
let's
a
hear it.
little bit unprecedented, and this might be similar to what we saw almost with like Tears of the Kingdom. I think in March, and we've been talking about it like every week over on Nintendo Therapy,
Yeah,
Switch 2
same here in
rumors. I
Nintenvania.
think in
Yep.
March we get the official announcement of the system, and the system comes out either in the summer or it comes out maybe in September. I think Metroid Prime 4 will be a holiday release, 2025, but I'm not surprised if they just say it's not ready, 2026, we're not releasing this game until it's ready. Because clearly, I mean, we've been talking about this game for the last 6, 7 years. So
Yeah.
so clearly it's not going to be clearly if it's just not 100%, this is just one of those IPs. It's not like Pokemon or something else. This is one of the
Mm.
IPs that they're going to be very sacred about, similar to Zelda. But I would not be surprised if this is one of the games that we see get released twice. An upscaled version that's maybe $70 for a new system, and a $60 version on the original hardware because the install base is just so big. Um, I've changed my opinions a lot about how long the Switch life cycle will go on because there's just too much licensing money to be made. I think it's just too big. It's just too big, you know.
It's huge.
Um,
They've done really well these last couple of years, even though the sales of the hardware slowing, the software is still really selling well. Um, might not be specific Nintendo stuff, but yeah, like you said, the other stuff, people are still playing the Switches. So no, they're in a great spot still.
so that's my prediction. I think it's going to be a little bit unprecedented. almost similar to Tears of the Kingdom, where we saw a $10 increase, and we did see that
Mm,
game get delayed for a for a while, I think. Um, for a while. So it did
mm.
have a pretty big window, but who knows? Like the Echoes of Wisdom had like a 1 month window from being announced and being released, and that was like a whiplash. Like we're getting Zelda in 2024. Okay.
It wasn't long, was it? It was, yeah, June and I think September, wasn't it? So, like, late June as well. So, um, yeah, pretty close, and they're good at that, Nintendo. They'll, announce stuff 3, 4, 5, 6 months ahead of schedule and really sit on it. So, um, yeah, I only think with the Switch 2, I think maybe you need more time to help market it and get people ready. So that's why I'm more thinking January. I'm hoping as well. I'm hoping for a January announcement, and then I'm thinking May or June it does come out, and that gives them 4 or 5 months, and that's kind of similar to what the Switch had because that was October 2016 that got announced, and then early March 2017 it was released, and so um, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But there's yeah, they're good at not telling us anything, telling us it's this is what it is, and then oh you don't have to wait long at all. This is like a few months away, which is probably better in a way because you know more and you don't have to wait the 7.5 years like we have for Metroid Prime 4 when that first got announced at E3 2017. It'll be 8 years pretty much by the time we do get to play it at least.
Yeah, you could tell me any prediction or any speculation, and I would say that it sounds good. Short, long, spring, summer, holiday season.
Mm.
Like it all sounds like it could be a good idea at this point.
You can make any rationale and angle it that way, and yeah, you're right. It makes sense if you argue the right way. So yeah, so it means we obviously don't know, and all we know is that the Switch 2 will get announced at least before the end of March. I hope it's a little bit earlier. I never thought once they said that they would happen this year, because they would want holiday sales to be strong for the OG Switch. But yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah, I don't
come
know. With
January,
with
let us
all,
have
with
it.
all of these fake leaks and weird leaks and possibly real leaks that we're getting,
Mm.
I keep saying that Nintendo should just hold off and tell people stop leaking things, or we're not going to release the system. That's it.
If you post another YouTuber leaked video, we're gonna release it another like 2 weeks later. So that's the threat they should do, shouldn't it?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so tough.
No,
We see so many of
no.
them now, don't we?
Yeah,
And some of
no
them look
more
really legit.
hardware, no more good remasters. You get a remaster of I can't even think of a good bad Nintendo title right now. A remaster. I don't know. Let's move
Like a
on.
bad game.
Of a bad game. What's a
Uh,
bad Nintendo IP?
Animal
Uh, You, you,
Crossing, Amiibo. What was that one?
you get a remaster of Ice Climbers. That's right. Okay. Anyways,
That's a bad
well,
game.
actually, yesterday, and we'll close on this. Yesterday, we recorded our 100th episode on Nintendo Therapy. So, that's
Congratulations.
that's about 2 years. We do
Mm,
weekly. I joined like episode 10. I wasn't an OG, but I'm an OG now, pretty much.
close
Uh,
enough.
and Kevin started that podcast because of Switch 2 rumors, and we have gotten so much content about it. Like pretty much every
Uh,
week, I'm like, here's something. Here's a new um, here's a new. I don't even know at this point.
Tidbit of information. There's a new league.
Yeah, yeah, something new that Nintendo is trademarking. Yeah, like a
Mm,
new trademark or something that's going through. Um, but yeah, and Josh, this has been great. I'm gonna have you on again, and we're gonna have you on soon with Nintendo Therapy because we got the videos going, and we're always having a good. I see the Wii U in the background, and Kevin is a huge Wii U guy. You can come on, talk about that. So
yeah, I'd love to come on again. I had a really good time. So I loved your NSO. spotlights and got to talk about one of the games and just it's yeah. And congrats on the 100. That's awesome. I've been doing my show for 3 years now. Mine's fortnightly, so I'm only at 85 episodes. So it's always funny to hear my episode's always going to come out a little bit slower, but yeah, doing it weekly, getting it out there, and getting to 100. That's a great effort because I think yeah, a lot of shows don't keep lasting. They'll start and then people will get disinterested or they stop. So to keep doing it and to keep building on is a really good thing.
Yeah, Nintendo's easy because there's always something to talk about. On
Mm,
here, I talk about basketball, so there's always something to talk about. And we just like, if I was gonna make advice to anyone, which I would not because I'm not a podcast expert, is just like find people that you generally like to talk to because we actually like to talk to each other, and that's really the only
mm,
reason why that podcast exists. Like, I mean, the content that we make is genuine, and we just hope to make an organic audience out of it, which is very small at this point. So that's the main reason why. Josh, what are you working on? Where can we find you? What's your podcast?
yeah. So yeah, I host and produce Nintenvania, which is a fortnightly Nintendo gaming podcast. So each episode I have someone new on, so it's me and someone else. So every time I get someone really cool on, obviously they're big Nintendo fans too, and so a little bit of interviewing them. A lot of them do some really cool things. Either they write for game review websites. They might create things. Um, I had Barry Carenza in the last episode. He's from Premium Edition Games and the Nintendo Fuse podcast, and so he works a lot with bringing digital games to the physical realm, getting them working with the developers to publish or to create physical versions of those games. And so um, I get a chance to sort of explore all the different angles of Nintendo. And so yeah, we cover all the news, but also whenever Nintendo releases one of their new games, usually most of the time Nintendo Australia looks after us and sends us a review copy, so we get to talk about it and deep dive into that. And so topics, and then I have weird Nintendo articles called Weird Nintendo at the end. So it's a bit of a variety kind of show. So if you like this and you've heard of Nintendo Therapy and listen to what Harrison does as well, I like to think you'd probably like what we do as well. But Harrison, thank you so much for having me on. It's always a pleasure talking to you, but also any chance I get to talk Castlevania and Metroid as well is awesome.
Right, right, and yeah, we started today, and I brought you on to talk about Vampire Survivors. Yeah, go check out that
Um,
game. It's
Tangent.
it's free on mobile. Like I tell people, like even if you don't want to spend the $3, like check it out on mobile, and then you can
Mm,
decide. It's one of the games that I tell people that if you have a Switch, you should have it. It's a small file size, and it's a great just to have and just to pick up. Just to pick
mm.
up if you have like 30 minutes to just play a game or something. So,
Yeah, perfect for that.
and if you go to Twitter, or I'm sure they're on like Blue Sky or whatever now, if you go to their Twitter and you comment a garlic, I guarantee you over half the time they will comment garlic back to you. They have one of the most active social media teams that I know of.
So good.
um,
When the social media expert gets given full reign to wreak havoc on the socials, it's always a good time because they come up with some pretty funny stuff.
Yeah. Well, I was saying that I got on Twitter the other day and I saw that Luigi was trending, and I was like, "Oh, Luigi! Oh, oh, a new Luigi game!" And then I
Yeah.
clicked on, it, I was like, "Uh-oh,
Uh-oh.
uh-oh, that
That
that's
that got
not so
real,
good."
didn't it? No, that's
Uh,
still crazy. Yeah, I still can't
yeah,
believe everything that happened with that, but
yeah.
it's always the ones you least expect. So it's Luigi this time.
Yeah, yeah, but hey, if Nintendo wants to take that idea and make like a vigilante game, you
Ugh.
try you tried tricking us with that Nintendo Detective Club that really like
Luigi's Gulag
ominous.
or something, I'm thinking, as
Yeah,
after Luigi's Mansion.
we gotta go. All right, we gotta go. Here's some talks, pod. I'll be back next week. Thank you so much. Have a great day.